Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and notification bell if you love to watch more cheating stories. If you want to know how to get back your ex-girlfriend and boyfriend, click the link below.
Two wrongs don't make a right. But does it make us even? Get your favorite snack or a cup of tea because this will take a while. I, 36F, have been married to my husband, 38M, for 12 years. We have 5 kids altogether, 1 from his previous relationship and 4 I birthed. We have had what I described as a rough start to our marriage with lots of challenges, but we made it through and bought our home together 5 years into our marriage. Before that we had been living with his mom, who kicked me and my kids out twice for unknown reasons, and so we lived apart for a good 3 of the first 5 years of our marriage. It was really hard for me, but in therapy last year he said that our early marriage was great and we had no problems. I roll. So in 2020 we were in a really stressful place. My dad, who lived with us for years to help with childcare and stuff, had been home on hospice. COVID-19 made it so that the hospice nurse wasn't there as often as she should have been, and so I ended up caring for my dad along with having a full-time night shift job and taking care of our 3 kids, the youngest of whom I was still breastfeeding. He was about to turn 2. I was already grieving the loss of my father and was watching him wither away from a strong hardy man to a skin and bones shadow of himself. I bathed my dad, changed his diapers, dressed his wounds and drained fluid from around his lungs when he couldn't breathe. He couldn't breathe a lot. My sister also lived with us and she would help out when she could as well. It was super hard for her to see him like that too. In February I accidentally found a conversation on my husband's phone with a female coworker. They talked a lot, from like 5 in the mornings when he would wake up to go to work until like 11 at night before he went to sleep. He sent her pictures of everything from our baby to his shoes to dirty dishes in our sink, talking about how he had already washed up and now there's more. You see where this is going? She flirted with him at times and he did in his own way, acting like he was being mean to her but really just joking. Nothing overly lovey-dovey or anything. But not appropriate either. They had a business trip to a hotel and their condos were exciting to be on the same bus, to see each other, to have fun with each other, and towards the end of the trip she even invited him to her hotel room. It seems like he just pretended to try finding her room but then couldn't in the end. Then they were happy to be in the same bus to come back home. And then she was all "Oh, our son's name is so cute. Blah blah blah" when I picked him from where the bus dropped all of them. Throughout the conversations there were deleted parts here and there. And conversations picked up from voice calls, so information was missing. She repeatedly asked him to come to her house to help with stuff around the house. He never outright said no, but kind of led her on to think he would help or be available. I was devastated when I found that emotional affair. He has maintained that he never slept with her. He kept saying it was nothing and actually laughed at me at first for being so upset. My crying actually woke him up out of his sleep when I found out. I was in the kitchen and he heard me from the room and came out to see what was wrong. He acted like the relationship was nothing and insisted it wasn't an affair and he wasn't cheating. I sent him articles on emotional affairs. He locked me out of his phone the next day and I begged and begged him to unlock it. I bawled a lot. I was so hurt I couldn't even handle it all. I felt like I had lost the one person who was supposed to be my rock, though everything else I was going through. I work in healthcare, so I was also working on COVID units at the time, so all the stress got to me. In the days after day as I cried and begged him to show me his phone, he would say no, he didn't care, and that it was my problem not his. I took it to mean that he had already moved on. I'm his heart and I now meant nothing to him. I just couldn't handle another loss at the time. I was suicidal. I felt worthless. I started working out thinking I wasn't attractive enough. I put highlights in my hair, which he never even noticed for like 2 weeks until I literally threw my hair in his face. He spent all his time on his phone. One time I tried to sneak a look while he was on it and he very deliberately turned so I couldn't see it and kind of smirked or smiled. So I took that to mean that he knew he was hurting me and didn't care. He later told me he had been joking and wasn't actually talking to the girl. Cue my idiot attempt to hold on to my sanity. I started messaging an old acquaintance who had confided in me how his girlfriend had cheated. I asked him how he handled it. I told him I wanted to die. I felt so worthless. At first he gave me suggestions to help my marriage. Communicate, he said. Go on dates. Tell my husband how his actions made me feel. My husband one night finally agreed to unlock his phone and we made up and made passionate love. The next night I checked and it was still locked. I didn't even want to read the conversation. I just wanted to know that it was open so he wasn't hiding anything. The fact that we made love and made up and I thought we would work everything out, but he went back on his word was like a knife driven through me. I felt an even deeper layer of betrayal. I leaned into the other guy even more. As it went on, I told my husband he was losing me into someone else's arms and tried to tell him that I needed him to be there for me, and actually tried telling him I was seeing someone. It became an actual physical affair and I slept with the guy twice. Unprotected. We continued our relationship until May, when my dad died. When my dad died, it was like I woke up from a dream. Suddenly something clicked and I was like, what the hell am I doing? I told my husband about what I had done and was doing. At first he didn't believe me. But the next night he was enraged. He punched holes in the door. Screamed in my face while the kids, my mom and my sister slept. I was so relieved he cared enough to be angry that I didn't mind his screaming and raging. He demanded access to my phone. He drove off at one point during the night, an argument, and I worried he would crash or something, but then he came back. I was so relieved. Later he said he had gotten a knife from the kitchen and was coming to our room to threaten me with it because I wouldn't give him access to my phone at first. I didn't because 1, he wouldn't give me access to his, and 2, no one deserves to read that shit and feel even worse. I didn't want him to have those words and images burned into his memory forever. I read his convo only once and it's still burned into my head. The next day he told me that he was leaving me and taking the kids and I would never see them again, and that he wasn't even going to drive with me to my dad's funeral the day after. I was heartbroken. At the same time, I was the level-headed one in times of emergency and death, so I had been the one to call funeral homes and set up the funeral, etc. My mom helped me after to go to the funeral home and set up everything. But my older sister was useless with grief. My brother wasn't here, military. And my younger sister didn't have a clue how these things work, so it all fell on me and my mom. The day of the funeral I used the opportunity to cry and cry and cry about losing my dad, my husband and my kids, all because I was stupid and unworthy. I got extremely drunk and tried to kill myself in the bathroom. My husband happened to get to me just in time to grab the scissors from my hands and stop me. I truly believe I would be dead if hadn't stopped me, because I couldn't feel a thing and the cut would have for sure been extra deep. After that he sat me on our bed and interrogated me in my drunken state. He asked me about sleeping with the guy, how many times, what we did, how good it was. I remember some of what happened that day but not all. He said I told him the truth. I only slept with the guy twice, and the sex wasn't even good. I hadn't used protection because once I forgot to bring, and the second time I was already exposed to him anyways, so why bother? The months following were weird. He became very loving after we decided we both loved each other and didn't want a divorce. The days following this we sat and read my conversation for days and days until he had read through the entire affair. He spent time with my phone like his life depended on it, and read through all my chats with my friends and family and made up a timeline. He misinterpreted a lot of the conversation because his language and writing skills aren't the best, so some things the meaning was lost to him. Like sometimes he thought I went to see the guy when I hadn't, or that we had slept together more than twice, and a lot of mixing up. After we decided to try again and that we would do therapy and we both got tested for STDs and stuff, he started buying me flowers, leaving me notes on my car to find when I finish work. I worked night shift and he worked days and passed my job to get to his. We had a lot more sex than ever before in the last few years, and it's like he was making up for lost time. We even snuck around to spend time with each other, because my mom or sister was babysitting, so I would sneak to see him after work before I went home to sleep, and I would bring breakfast for him. We would both sneak to our condo to be together and make love and enjoy each other's company. We really tried. Of course I got pregnant in October or so. He was happy. But sometimes he would start shouting at me how I was just a cheap fuck for the guy, and asked how I felt about being used like that and how I fucked a guy, and there's a guy out there who can say he fucked his wife. It was horrible. He would have times of loving and affection, then times of shouting at me, getting hostile and aggressive and saying hurtful things. I became suicidal again in my pregnancy and told my doctors. I started on meds. I went to therapy. We both went to therapy and he kept finding problems with the therapists and saying he didn't like them, so we would switch and start over. I got COVID in my 6th month of pregnancy and we thought I would die. I was weak, not eating or drinking, couldn't breathe and couldn't care for myself. I wore diapers, it got so bad. He took really good care of me, helped me eat and bathe and walk, and took me to the hospital whenever and all that. Then my pregnancy got complicated and I was in and out of the hospital. We stopped therapy because of this and had baby in May 2021. Baby was sick and spent his first month in the NICU. When he came home we were overjoyed. I went back to work and then left my job to go to my dream job. Now, about 2 weeks ago I was looking through his phone and I found several conversations with several women from years ago. He had made an account on a dating site and had given out his number to different women and was calling them beautiful and flirting and giving them all kids of attention. He was talking to a coworker as well. In the convo he invited her out at night saying he wanted to do something. She was really excited. Then he didn't text for a while. Then a month later asked her what happened, told her he thinks about her every day and misses her. And she told him she loved him a lot. Another convo was with a coworker, but it was just a number, no name, so I don't know if it was her, but it was one of those trips to hotel and they were planning to meet up at the bar and drink together. The conversations with the coworkers were spotty because they picked up from phone conversations, I guess, so there was even something's missing. I confronted him that same night and he said that's not cheating. I said yes it is. I told him I couldn't believe he acted so innocent when I made a mistake and came to him instead of hiding it, and he acted like I was a serial cheater and I just wanted to fuck around and be with other men and I was the devil herself, and all this time he had been cheating for years. Yes, years. I had time stamps from 2014 to 2015 at least. I've since talked about this with my therapist. A new one we started seeing who, by the way, he said he didn't want to go to her anymore either. So I've been seeing her alone. He hasn't yet apologized but did offer a reason of but that time was the time we're living separately and we were having problems. Well, that was wrong because the time he was referring to was when we finally buckled down and came together to save to buy our home. Our baby had just turned 1, our firstborn was 3 and his daughter was 5. So I told him and he didn't answer. He insisted he hadn't slept with any of them. He was exchanging selfies though. I told him I was disappointed in him. It wasn't the first time he lied to me either. There are so many things I look back on that I endured to be with my husband. I really believed we were soulmates and I'm willing to drop everything and just start over with him because I love him, but a whole 2 weeks have passed and he refuses to talk to me about this. No apology. No explanation. We've just been acting like nothing happened. When I try to talk he says he will only talk to me with the therapist because when he found out about my affair I would only talk to him with the therapist. My reasoning was that every time I tried to talk to him about my affair and moving forward he would become aggressive and send me into fight or flight, and not to mention how he would put me down every time calling me names and such. And then I was pregnant too, so I didn't want to harm my baby by having all those stress chemicals running free in my body and getting to baby. Another thing is that for the entire time since I was pregnant in 2020 he's been saying he can only move on if I read my entire affair chat again by myself so I can know what I did to him. I keep saying well I was there so I know. But he insists that if I don't read it he will divorce me. So I actually started reading it with the therapist because I know I will hate myself and want to harm myself if I read it alone. I can't afford to feel that way right now because I'm still breastfeeding my 8-month-old, I'm still learning my new job, and obviously I have to be present to raise my kids. I'm still on medication but it doesn't stop me from having flashbacks and feeling nauseous and hating myself for what I did. I had talked to my sister and a couple girlfriends and they said that my husband was being abusive towards me and that if he said he would forgive me he needed to and stop talking down to me the way he was doing. He even did it in front of the kids. He has gotten our 10-year-old to ask me where I was and why I was so late coming home from work and then pretended he had nothing to do with it after. I'm really confused. I know I fucked up and put him and my kids at risk and I truly regret my actions. I hated seeing him hurt and knowing I was the cause of that hurt. I was wrong and I admit that. But at the same time, I didn't actively seek that relationship out. It just happened. I was vulnerable and lost and basically lost my mind and he was there offering comfort and solace. I was only trying to save myself. I didn't ever want to cheat. I hated cheaters. I always believed there was no excuse for cheating and always told my husband I would rather he hit me than cheat on me. I used to have nightmares where I would cheat and I would wake up bawling and clutching him saying I'm sorry. He said that's how he knew he could always trust me not to cheat and that I would never. And he even admitted he enjoyed it. The primary problem he seems to have with my affair is that I had sex with the guy. And that he wanted to do all those things with me but I would always be tired or have back pain. I would beg him to rub my back for me but he always refused, saying he doesn't know what he's doing and doesn't want to hurt me. After the affair he massaged my back for me by listening to my instructions and following directions. Now he's back to I can't do massages. I just have a lot to think about. I remember all the times he didn't talk to me for days on end because we argued and I couldn't even reach him despite being pregnant or having his kids. Like if it was an emergency with one of them or myself I couldn't reach him. Or the time he lied to me that he had to work late and I ended up picking up our baby boy and my dad from my dad's friend's house hours after my husband was to get them because he went to his ex's graduation because he says she didn't have anyone to take their daughter to it so he had to. I found out because I found a receipt for her diapers in a different county at the time he had said he was working late. I had to leave work in my dirty scrubs from infectious disease unit after 8 at night to get my baby boy and my dad. Another time I saw a F-flat post from our mutual girlfriend that he and his brother had driven down to her apartment and brought her candy and some inappropriate stuff about this candy and wink emotional and shit and realized he was just minutes away from me and our son, so I called and asked him why he didn't come to visit us since he was nearby. He said because he figured I wouldn't want to see his brother, who I wasn't fond of because he was a serial cheater. Still is. This same girlfriend used to text him at all hours through the night about going to bus and mildly flirting with him. I told him it was inappropriate because he was married with a family, so the timing was inappropriate and she shouldn't be joking about blowing up with him and he shouldn't telling her, not you, when she asks what he's doing. I told my therapist I'm no longer sure if I want to stay and work it out. I don't know anything anymore. Like I endured his mom and the horrible way she treated me while I was pregnant and kicking me and our son out the week before his first birthday and then isolating me when I had my first baby so that I wasn't eating or sleeping and I would come out and snack on cereal after everyone was asleep because she said she didn't want me in her kitchen or eating her food. I was breastfeeding. I was a new mom. He entirely ignored this shit. I'm sorry for such a long post, but it's all a lot to process. I'm trying really hard to get my head together and to think fairly and reasonably. I'm still waiting to hear why he felt the need to cheat so much. He had said he just wanted to see if anyone was interested in him and I told him I worshipped the ground he walked on and asked him why he needed anyone else to be interested in him. I'm still confused. Please be kind in your replies. I know I fucked up royally by cheating and I am nauseated every time I'm thinking about it. I really hate myself for it. Here are the best comments. Emotional affairs seems to hit harder for women. Physical affairs seem to hit harder for men. You both did the worst thing to each other, and if the communication was even as prevalent as you state. Divorce should have been the option before cheating. That goes for both of you. I worshipped the ground you walked on. But I slept with man unprotected twice, endangering us and our child, Ren. Yup. Okay. He acted all in, flowers, cards, etc. But you knew he was texting others, so to you it felt disingenuous. Sounds just like that last quote. Listen. Obviously this tit-or-tat got out of control, and you need to just divorce already, but you both have a metric shit-ton of work to do to improve on yourself. No one was right here. Everyone is going to get hurt, and neither one of you could look up from your narrow view to see how this would affect your child, Ren. They will be affected the most, and will emulate you and your ex if you don't watch out. Be better, so you don't watch your children do the same stupid mistakes you do. Good luck. Honestly, this relationship is toxic. He held a knife to you, you tried to commit suicide. And the whole, of rather he hit me than cheat on me, comment is problematic enough on its own. I think your focus should be on you reconciling with yourself first. With so many kids, and I'm assuming a lot of bills, divorcing is probably going to be complicated, but I don't think this relationship can be spared. Men put their wives on pedestal. You jumped off yours. Being spiteful got you here. A lot of cheaters tell themselves it's alright, he is useless and deserve it. You're in this post doing the same. I am not excusing his emotional affairs. But he did give you access. And you still cheated. There are a lot of reasons to get divorced. You gave a laundry list of reasons here. You stepped over the line. He feels he did not go all the way. The problem with women cheating is that men like to be honored by being respected. Women like to be honored by being treated with love. Now read your post, you do not respect him. He sees you as damaged. You're just another woman. I do not have advice for you. You given your plethora of reasons for leaving. Your options are limited with your shifts to look after your kids. If you move today, I suspect your pay will suffer. So he the stabler option. With 4 kids, you're stuck with each other. There's only one reason for people to make a marriage work. That reason is love. So is it still there? You two are doing a good job disrespecting each other. Your poor kids grow up seeing this. Divorce or stop listing his shit and get going on fixing this. No more locked phones. No more secrets. You work your ass off. You give 110% expecting back 0. Tell him to read this sub. It will open his eyes. Wow. Your situation is messed up big time. He ignores you a lot and is most likely a serial cheater. When you needed him most, when you was about to kill yourself and when you were seriously ill with COVID, he was there for you. He doesn't seem to want to stop cheating and his brother is no role model for fidelity. Maybe the two of you need to sit down and discuss divorce, not desperation, divorce and co-parenting the kids. Maybe keep the kids together, including his daughter during custody, so you would have her and your kids on your custody days. On your back issue. Look online for exercises to strengthen the back and abdomen of post-childbirth women. I am a guy and have been doing a set of them for years. My back has never caused me issues even after hard workouts. Good luck. I have no idea why I am awake at 5 a.m., but I am sure that reading your up won't help me sleep flushed. It would be difficult to say something that hasn't been covered in some way by the many posts, but as the saying goes, when you're up to your ass in alligators, it doesn't matter whose job it was to drain the swamp. You have all of those children and they will need you both for the foreseeable future. Maybe you could both take your sights off of each other, and train them on the children. If you both could somehow agree to a kind of détente, and turn your attention to the children, you would undoubtedly see improvement in your lives overall. Maybe run this idea by the therapist, and if you get buy-in you would also have a referee of sorts. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Remember to